Hello everyone, and welcome to Roadmap 54, the podcast that talk about Africa and what African people they are doing across the continent. Today episode, I'm so happy because I will be interviewing a friend of mine, and she is someone very special that is doing amazing, like really amazing things across this continent. But before I talk more about this person, let us know few curiosity about the country that this person coming from, and let us see. Okay, perfect. This person comes from Zambia, and Zambia is a country located in the South Africa. This means in the south part of Africa. And Zambia is landlocked. It is surrounded by 8 countries, each with their own culture and language. I really didn't know about it that Zambia is a landlocked country. And by the way, Zambia is my neighbor. It is neighbor from Angola. Zambia is inhabited by about 73 tribes, each of which has its own language. And the most spoken and understood language in Zambia, they are Bemba and Nyanja. And after we will ask our guest if she knows speak one of this language. Another curiosity about Zambia is that half of Victoria Falls is in Zambia, and the Victoria Falls is the seventh wonders of the world of natural world, and it is one of the largest curtain of falling water. And Zambia is the home of the big five animals in the world. We can find in Zambia lions, elephant, leopard, rhinoceros, and Cape buffaloes. And wow, as I said, Zambia is a very rich and country, and I really want to go there. But I want to say more something before I call this person. I invite her, and I already say her. I invited her to this podcast, but there is another person that I interview. In this case, Miriam from Burkina Faso. Miriam invited this person to be here too, and let me see if I can find what Miriam said about this person, like very quickly. I don't know if I can find it, but I will be looking for, and let me introduce you, Bupe, and better than me, she will be the one say a little bit about her. Hello, Bupe, how are you?
Hi, Elisa. Hello, everyone tuning into this podcast. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much. Like, as you were talking about Zambia, I was just thinking, how do we make Elisa become part of our Ministry of Tourism? You've done a good job explaining the country, but thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, and thank you to Miriam for nominating me for this episode.
Do you know it is funny because before Miriam nominated you to be in this episode, I invited you first, and when Miriam was here, I told her like, okay, now you need to pick someone to this podcast, and she was like, Elisa, please, I can't pick only one person. Let me pick two, and they were like, come on, Miriam, and they're like, please, okay, you can pick two, and one of this person was you, and they were like, oh, this is so good because I already talked with her, and it is nice because this means we recognize the work that you are doing in Zambia, and this is amazing. And as I said, you are doing like very well. And before we start to talk more about your work, let us try to know a little bit who is Bupe, who is this girl from Zambia. But after that, I want to know something. For the two African language that I said, we have Bemba and the Nyanja. I don't know if I say right the pronunciation.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
correct.
do you know how to speak this language?
I can actually speak both of those languages. So Nyanja is spoken a lot in the capital, and that is where I live in Lusaka. And I happen to be Bemba. So both my names, Bupe Chikumbi, are Bemba names.
Wow, and I like your name. You know, like have the African vibe names. It is amazing. How can I say, for example, good morning or hello in Bemba?
Okay, that's a good one. Mulishani.
Mulishani.
Yes, Mulishani.
Hey, this
That's good morning.
good morning. Now I know. When I go to Zambia, this will be my favorite word, like mulishani to everyone in Zambia right
Yes.
now. Wow, I really like it. This is amazing. And tell me more a little bit the country. Like, how do you guys feel to be surrounded by 8 African countries? This is like 8. How is it?
I think it has its pros and cons. On the positives, I think the positives really outweigh anything bad because we have access to all the countries. So, Zambia, we feel connected to more parts of Africa because when I meet brothers and sisters in Namibia, we know so much about Namibia because right at the border, we have Zambians there who are, enjoying the privileges there. We have Congo and just all the different countries, Tanzania. So you find that people in Zambia have a lot of information about the countries around because we learn about them, the politics, and yeah, we are very connected. The only down part is we don't have access to the ocean. So we always have to travel like to Tanzania for us to just experience the ocean vibe.
Oh God, I can understand it. But I think it's nice going to Tanzania. You know, you can go to Zanzibar. I don't know. I really want to know Zanzibar because sometimes when I see image or video on Instagram about Zanzibar, I look like, oh my God, this is like so beautiful. But at the same time, you guys have like a lot of animals you can experience. Wait, did you see a lion or something like this?
Yes, actually. So in Zambia, like we see lions, like they're there, but not as the media projects them. They are not in the streets everywhere, but at almost all the national parks, you freely like mostly people go to some of the famous parks. Like if you go to Chaminuka, you actually walk with the lions side by side. You can play with them, and it's a very unique experience. When you go to some of the hotels and resorts, you have the elephants right there pouring water on you as you are showering, and you don't get that anywhere else. You have giraffes. You're having your breakfast at some of the resorts, and there's just like a giraffe peeping through your window. So I think what Zambia does very beautifully is it grounds you back to nature, and it connects you to like natural resources, our roots, because you see it all there. Like you see the leopards as you mentioned them, you appreciate them, and it's something that makes us very proud, and it's also something that I've learned now is hidden. A lot of people in other countries don't know that about Zambia, so when they come here and they're saying, wow, I didn't know that the safaris here are this amazing. I think it's the world's best kept secret, Zambia.
Wow, Zambia looks like an amazing place. I think it is kind of the same as here in Angola. We have the parks too, and you are right. Sometimes the media, you can find people asking you if you see like Leon every day in your life. Like no, we don't see it. You need to go to a park to see it because the animal living there, and we have like big cities as other country. But let us start more. Bupe, tell me a little bit about you. Who is you and what you like to do?
Thank you so much, Elisa. I'm so humbled actually. Where do I begin? So, Bupe, I am 28 years old. I like to say my age so that people resonate. I'm 28 years old. I like to see myself as a leader. I think that's the role that I resonate with the most. And I'm an education activist. I'm a scientist by profession. So I studied human biology at the University of Zambia. I grew up in a large family. So I'm the first of six children. And I think it's from there that, this sense of responsibility and leadership began. Growing up in Africa, you're assistant parent. So I'm the third parent in that household, taking care of my five siblings. Growing up, I think I was always passionate about science, technology. My father played a big part in that. When I was young, he would always say, "Oh, my daughter is a genius. Oh, that's so genius." Like, when I do different things, he was always such a big cheerleader. And I remember when I was young, I had very diverse passions. I wanted to be everything. Those kids that say, "I want to be an artist, I want to be a scientist." And my father never told me that it's crazy. He actually said, "Okay, okay." So when I told him I want to be an artist, he began to teach me how to draw. When I told him I want to be a scientist, he began to introduce me to books. I read a lot of books growing up, and shows on TV, television shows. I watched this show about Japan where they used to show a lot of technology, robots, and I was watching that when I was like 5 years old or something. So that now became who I am today. So when you say what do you like to do, I love to draw. I'm an artist as well, and it goes all the way back to the guidance from my father, who actually would teach me with how to hold a pencil, because he himself is also an artist. So I find that I resonate in a lot of different fields, because when I told my father that I wanted to have 10 careers, he said it's possible. So I grew up with this mindset of you don't have to be one thing. So you find that I'm different things in different communities, but the role that I resonate with the most is actually a leader. So I find it a privilege to be able to inspire other people to action, lead people in a certain direction, especially coming from Southern Africa, a country like Zambia, which has been featured on a lot of not so good statistics, one of the poorest countries. Okay, currently I think it's gotten better, but it's still very, third world country. We have different challenges, and we've had several challenges throughout even my own life growing up. Seeing those types of things, I realized that there was a need for leadership, to inspire people with hope, because sometimes hope is a very scarce commodity in my country. People don't see a better tomorrow because the systems are always falling apart. So that is a role that I take as a calling, and I like to use all my gifts and talents in the role of leading others. And currently, with the work I do running an organization that deals with science, education, and leadership, it all comes down from my childhood and the values that my father instilled in me. And the same way he would tell me, you are a genius. You can do it. You're a genius. I named this company, like Genius Education Zambia, because I'm not a genius, I'm not the smartest person in any room, but my father made me know that you can aspire to be better. If you fail, you can get back up, and that is how you become good at what you do. So I named the company Genius Education Zambia in honor of my dad, and also to ensure that every young person that comes in contact feels the same feeling that my father made me feel, where you know that no matter what your skills and abilities are, with the right guidance and nurturing, there's only the sky is the limit. Yeah.
Wow, Bupe, you really inspired me with all things that you talk, and I can see how this conversation will go. But before it, I want you to listen a little bit what Miriam said when she invited you. Let's play.
I also think about Bupe. Do you uh, do you I don't know how to say it. Do you remind about Bupe?
Yes, Bupe, she's from Zambia.
Zambia, exactly. Yeah. I also think about Bupe because she make an amazing work in her country, also for young people. So it can be also interesting for her to share her experience with your audience, and also talk about her country, yeah, and so on. Yeah, so I think about these two people, yeah, even if there are a lot of people who make amazing things.
Yes. Ah, did you listen to that?
I did. Oh my God. So humbled.
Yeah, I was so happy when she picked you and Emmanuel, and I was like, wow, you really pick amazing person that I know, and amazing people that I know. They will like share a lot of things. And let us talk more about you, Bupe. Now, you talk that the work that you are doing in the Genius Education Zambia, it is a way to how can I say um, to give the work that your father give to you to other people. And I think this is so nice, and it is amazing, what you are doing. And I want to know more, how did you start it? Like, I want to know more the struggle, the success, because sometimes we only see the success for other people. We don't see what is behind. We only see like, okay, Bupe, she won this, she won that, but we don't know the path. And what I really want here we talk is about the path, and when this idea start, like what motivates you stand up and say that, okay, I will do something. And before you started talking, I want to say something that was very nice that you said, is that you can be many things at the same time, and I'm kind of like you. I'm like many things at the same time, but there is a culture that people they teach us you can't do too much. Like, I'm so sorry. I don't know, but for me, sometimes it's difficult to do only one things, and because there is many things that I like, there is many things that I want to explore, many things that I want to try, and for me, it's difficult to follow this idea that I need to do only one things and to be only one things, and like listen to you say that you are so many things, but in one person make me feel that, oh, maybe I'm not the only one doing it. And I really want to be able to be near to people like you and learn more about your life, your goals, and how you do what you do. But let's go, like, tell me more about your organization. Like, how did you start it?
Thank you so much, Elisa. And I think you're so right when you say people see, like the good parts without knowing the background. And with Genius Education Zambia, because one of our goals, and even for myself as a person, is to always share hope. So you see that with hope, you are more on the optimistic part. So I would usually shun from always sharing the bad news, and I'll explain why that is like that for Genius Education and myself as an individual. So going back when I was growing up in my country in the 1990s, there were so many challenges that plagued the nation. So we had a lot of disease burden. There was a lot of conversation around malaria, HIV, and AIDS, and just all the different diseases. But apart from that, there was actually a bigger challenge that plagued the nation, which was abuse of young girls. So I grew up very sheltered. My father was very protective. My parents, both my mother and father, were very protective, because what was happening to young girls in the community is it was bad. They were being abused, molested, sexually abused. And my parents they had to do a lot to just keep us indoors. So with that in mind, that's the first reason why I was inside the house and not outside, because anything could happen to you when you're outside. I remember sometimes even just going out to play with my friends. When I come back home, I would get a beating, and it wasn't because of a lack of love from my parents. It's because that is how much fear was put on them, just knowing that their young 5-year-old, 4-year-old girl child is out there in the world. So when I stayed inside the house, I used to watch this Japanese show. I can't actually remember the name, but it was a technology show that was showing all these advanced technologies, artificial intelligence, robotics in Japan. And I was like 4, 5, 6 years old. And I started learning about robotics, artificial intelligence. And I would have those conversations with my father. So that idea of AI was in my mind when I was a kid. So a good thing that also happened is my grandfather, who I'm also very close to, my dad's uncle, he had traveled to Japan for his career. So when I asked him these questions about artificial intelligence, he validated that, right? He said, "Oh, that is true. You can actually become that thing." So I'll tell my parents that when I grow up, I'm going to open this big company and we'll just solve all these problems. Young people can go outside without being restricted, because that was a real challenge for me. I wanted to be outside, playing all the time, but going outside was almost illegal. So I played a lot, but it was always illegal in that sense. So when I watched that show, it always contrasted a lot with the news, because when you tune to the news, there was always, stories about, protect the girl children. Those were the advertisements that were on TV. Those were the posters in the streets, talking about all these problems in my country. And it was very depressing. So as a young child, I already started having these existence problems. They call them existential problems. I was questioning the world. I said, what is good about this world where everything is so horrible in my country? So I kind of made a commitment to spread light and positivity. And now, as I've gone on in my journey, it reflects as you're sharing more positive than negative. But I was trying to present a different idea of Zambia, of Africa, of myself. How the organization came about is, as I continued to advance, I loved school. I used to read a lot as well. My father would teach me about leadership. My father is my first leadership coach. He was literally teaching me about leadership. This is how you lead people. This is integrity. And then he was giving me examples of all these great people. He read these books, Think and Grow Rich, and he would teach my siblings and I, these are the things that make good leaders. He would sit us down and tell us, this is what Nelson Mandela did. This is what President Bush has done, like giving us all these leadership examples. So the concept of leadership was something that was enforced within the household. So as I got into school, I was very passionate about education and I excelled very much in my academics, but it came with a lot of guilt. So what would happen, you write exams and they'll say, "Oh, the highest is Bupe Chikumbi. Oh, this Bupe Chikumbi." And I will look at my friends. So usually, that should make you feel good, but it always made me feel sad, because I didn't understand, like, what was I doing different from my friends? I don't know why I was having these thoughts, by the way, but I would always ask my friends, why is it that why are you struggling with this mathematics? So I started teaching my friends, like from a very young age. I've always tutored. So I began tutoring others. And I remember when people do very well or even better than me, I would be so excited, because I wanted everyone to realize that school was easy. So as I got to middle school, grade 7, 8, my goal was to always simplify education. So I would teach my friends, like, it's not very complicated. You can do this. These are the tips. This is how I study. And when I got to high school, it became a full career, because schools were now calling me to go like in front of a podium, platform, and speak to thousands of people. So I was doing this school made easy kind of mentorship for so many people in my country. I would tell them, this is how you study mathematics. This is how you study. Oh, I also struggle. This is how your brain processes the information. I'll try to break that process. But when I got to medical school, I found that I couldn't keep up with that type of calendar, because I was required to be in school. So some of these high schools would call me, and now I didn't have time. It became overwhelming. How do I do the academic mentorship when I also have to learn? So in 2018, in my country, they called it the cholera pandemic. So before the world knew about lockdown, Zambia already had several lockdowns. So in 2018, January, my country was locked down for about 3 months, because there was this waterborne disease, cholera, which was caused by the rainfalls and just with all the contamination in the country. So we were closed down, universities were closed down, even medical schools were closed down, like my own University of Zambia. So I was home for 3 months and I said, what can I do? So all those ideas that I had collected from these mentorship talks I was giving, I put them in a book. So I said, if I make a book, it can reach so many people. So I spent that holiday writing this book. I had also saved up a lot through my school. I was just really, this is how passionate I was with education. I used to like save up every little amount. So I had like these savings which I was on the university bursary scholarship, and all my money was actually used for all my like living allowances. I used them for this education work. That's just like to show like this is how committed I was to this journey. So I wrote that book, and it started now, like being taken to all these different schools. And within a short time, it was like a bestseller. Everyone was buying the books. The first copies finished. We made new copies, 500 copies finished, new copies. And I took it to the Ministry of Education in my country to have a look and evaluate it, and they were very impressed. They said, this is good. They gave it a very high rating. It was rated at 84%, which sometimes doesn't even happen for curriculum books. So they said, this is a curriculum book and it's a supplementary book. We want it to be sent to different schools. So that was how the organization was born. So when I had that book, I needed to register a company. And I said, what can I do? So I registered Genius Education Zambia because of the demand of that book. But I thought, for the sake of the audience and people listening, to just share, like, that was the journey. So when the company was initially registered, I thought of how do I combine my passion for science, especially emerging sciences, AI, all these futuristic sciences, my passion for education and leadership into one thing. And that's exactly what we do as Genius Education Zambia. So that's the background. We've had several challenges along the way, lots of tears. It's been a huge sacrifice. I missed a lot of classes in medical school, but I also received a lot of support. So it's the good and bad. And I think one of the hardest things I did in 2020 was actually to completely step out from my medical path to focus fully on this work. And it was at that point that I saw that I'm very, very passionate about this work, because I just said I can't continue on this journey of becoming a doctor, even though I had invested 6 years already. And now I do this work full time, and it's very fulfilling for me.
Uh, wow, like wow. I'm speechless. I'm gasbab like wow. I really I didn't know about it. Like this is why I decided to have a podcast, to be able to listen about this kind of story. But like Zambia is here, is very near to Angola. I can go driving until your country, but we don't have this kind of opportunity to listen and to know what our brothers and sisters they are doing in their country. And your story is very inspirational. Like I'm feel inspired with all things that you said. I'm completely speechless. Like wow. Uh, it is amazing the work that you are doing. And tell me, in all this journey, I'm so happy to know that you have your father that was the first mentor in your life, and it is amazing you have someone so close to you mentoring you. And I think your father needed to write a book too for African parents, how to
I've been
raise your children in a different way. Like we really need that, because I think it is necessary we start teaching our kids for the young age about the world and about how they can make the world better. Either if it is in a small step, like baby step, but we really need. And by the way, I want your book. I don't know how we will do that. Either if you have a PDF, please send to me. I want it. Did you think like maybe try to translate the book in other language? Like the book, it is in English, right now.
Yes, yeah, that was the first book. So it is in English, and translating is something we want to do, But this is one of the issues where we want to now raise more funding to facilitate that, because it involves translators and all the different other people. But for all our books, we actually want to translate them. So we'll make sure some copies reach Angola.
Please do that. We need it. We really need it, because we still here, and like a lot of other African countries, we are kind of struggle with our education system and how to make education better. Tell me a little bit about the education system in Zambia. How do you see it? Because here in Angola, we have a lot of struggle. We start, but we have a lot of struggle, and there is a lot of things to improve in our education system, and mainly because a lot of students, they finish, for example, high school, and they don't have orientation. Sometimes you don't know what you will do. You are only studying, and what happens is when you finish your high school or your university, you are there without a job. You don't have experience. You don't know, like, basically what you will be doing with your life. And they want to know, because you work in education, how do you see it? And another question is how we can try to improve the education in the continent.
Okay, thank you for that question. So I think to answer that one, it relates more with what we are doing now. So we develop curriculum, because when I looked at, I had worked through the different people in the education system. They've been very supportive, and they opened the doors of Zambian education system to Genius Education Zambia. We have access to all the schools, private, public schools. We've been supported at different levels. The provincial offices, district boards from the Ministry of Education, with challenges at some points. But I think, if I'm being very objective, the support they've given us has been outstanding, and the good has outweighed the few hiccups along the way. When I look at the education system in Zambia, and I think this would apply to Africa, I think we need to create our own system that reflects our people. So what we are doing with Genius, because we used to teach these skills, coding, robotics, and for some reason we couldn't ensure that the learners connect these skills to something tangible. So they will learn how to code, but then that doesn't always mean they can solve the problems, right? So what we decided to do is actually just create our own curriculum. We are calling it the Genius curriculum, where we are using the skills that are already present in Zambian, Southern Africa. We are known for what? Creativity. We are so creative. So why don't we incorporate this creativity with everything we do? Why don't we use things that are easy for us without having to always borrow from international curriculums? So what we do with Genius, we create this curriculum where we are teaching creativity, teaching innovation, as a branch of neuroscience. We are teaching them about industry, and then we are also linking that to the emerging technologies. So in that way, they already understand what role they have to play in the ecosystem. You mentioned about, sometimes in society, they want you to be specialized, right? You can't be many things. But then what we do with Genius Education Zambia in all our programs, we teach on the industrial revolution, so that people should exactly understand how we got to this point of specialization. So human beings were never created to be one thing, but there was a time in history where industries were being created, and it was more viable for business people to have a specialized person, because you do your work faster, you become like a machine. But now, in the world where we have so many technologies that are already taking over specialized roles, it's not serving us anymore. So once you make people understand that this specialization is just a human construct, it already allows them to think beyond the box, because we tell them, what do you want to be? That's what you can be. So if what you want to be does not exist, you're free to create it, right? Like the curriculum that we wanted to see in Zambia did not exist. I couldn't find it on the international market as well. So we sat with the team and said, we are going to make this curriculum, and we created it. We've put it in illustrations, right? We have a book where you can see characters that look like Africans. We are telling the story the way we want it to be told. And last year, on a success note, we actually won an international award for this curriculum. And the validation is good, but this is something that we have to do more. So when you say, what do we see? Thank you for our education system. I think we have to create things that work for us. If something is not working, you're not getting the result. Because in Africa, and I'll speak for Zambia, we blame ourselves, right? You're trying to find a job, you can't find it. You say, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with the skills? We don't always look at the external and say, maybe the environment is bad. When you look at the genius idea, you say, if you force a fish to climb a tree, it won't manage. So we are giving, our education system is giving these solutions that do not reflect our people. We are looking at these technologies that do not reflect our people. That's why you get a robot created from Japan or the US. You take it to your grandmother in the village. She's going to scream, she'll be scared because it doesn't reflect her. That is not to say she's ignorant. Usually we are quick to label the people. We say they're ignorant, they're backward. But with Genius Education Zambia, we say, how do we create these technologies driven by AI, driven by machine learning, Web3 technologies, but that resonate with the people, so that if we take it to the village where my grandmother lives, she will see herself in the technology. And that is, it's a very long-term strategy, but this is something we've been pushing also with the Ministry of Education. And that's where I see the future of Africa. World Economic Forum, they've already estimated that by 2050, 1/4 of the world will be Africans, like the more youth will be here in Africa. How do we begin to strategically align our education systems so that we can thrive, in this world where these statistics are going to be present? So I see that our education system, I like to always look at the bright side and think of solutions. I know that there are so many challenges. I can spend the whole day listing them. But positively, I see that we are making changes. The fact that organizations such as my own can get support from the government in whatever capacity they are giving is already a huge change, because years ago you could only dream of working with the government in Zambia. They wouldn't agree. So already I'm seeing that these little steps show that the work we are doing, it's yielding some fruit. So I'm very optimistic. I mentioned I see positivity in our education systems as more young people like yourself, Elisa, myself, we begin to bring these solutions to the table, however long it takes. I'm very positive about the future.
Wow, and I can share the same feeling as you. I'm positive about the future too, and I think the same, that we really need to create a education system adapted to Africa. We need to stop using the education system for other countries, other continent, and try to create things that can be resonating here. And like the way that we learn, the way that we do things is different, and I think our education system need to be different too. And please come in Angola and talk with the government here. We need this kind of mentality, we need this. I don't know, like I think African country, we need to start to try to partnership with one with other, and try to see how we can improve in our way. I think it is really necessary we start a partnership and see how we can make it better. And to talk about partnership and mentorship too, tell me, you and I, we went to Notre Dame University because we was one of the Mandela Washington Fellowship, and we was at the Notre Dame University in Indiana South Bench. Go Irish! And it was like very very nice be there. I want to know more, like how was your experience there in Notre Dame? And another thing that I know, you did the PDE. How was your general experience for the PDE? And if you feel that you going and participating in all this program, they are like helping you build a more strong mindset about how do you want to drive the education system starting in Zambia, and how we can build like education system that is mirrored by African and not by the other. Something that me as an African, I can learn and feel like I'm learning as I really needed to learn, and connect myself to this education system.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. I think when it comes to partnerships, what has worked for us as Genius and what I apply in my life, in my personal life, I think you have to set values. You need to have a value system. So like with Genius Education Zambia, we have core values and we reflect these values in everything we do. So this has kind of helped us connect with the right people and focus on the right people. So, when it comes to partnerships, you have to always ensure that there's some type of alignment there. And the type of alignment for us, how we filter through our partners is through our value systems. Do they align with integrity? What's their impact in the world? Are they aligning with excellence and all the different values that we have as an organization? We have 8 values. When applying that now, coming to the US, I've been here for 2 months now with the different programs that I've been doing with the Mandela Fellowship. I've used the same approach. So I've been able to always connect with the right people through, shared values, because I think as Africans, we have spent a lot of time, agonizing about what has gone wrong. And we already know, I say if it comes to the mistakes, we know the mistakes, we know what is failing in our systems. And when I'm looking for partnerships, I'm looking for people who just focus on solutions. I'll start like back home working with the government. It's very complicated to work with governments, but what did I do? I learned how do you interact with governments. There's an organization called Ashoka, who are actually, they are one of the largest organizations that support social entrepreneurs, and they have a course on how to work with governments. And I learned how to work with governments because sometimes, as young people, we are passionate, we go to those rooms and we are blaming them, this ABCD is going wrong because you're not doing these types of things. And as good as that passion is, it won't take you anywhere if it hasn't been nurtured and cultivated and mentored. So you have to know how to work with those stakeholders. When it comes to the private sector, understand what are they doing? How do you place yourself in that system? And what do you want from the partnership? It's not always a financial partnership. I mentioned that we've had a lot of success as an organization, but it's interesting when we tell people that for the first 4 years, we didn't have any external funding. Even now, we work on very little budgets because we've found a way to, utilize low-hanging fruits to work through in-kind, partnerships where we use the resources that we need. And these are some of the things that I feel like have helped us define ourselves from all the other organizations, because with Genius Education Zambia, we tell ourselves we should still run when we don't have these types of funding. So when I came to the Mandela Fellowship, I had the same mindset where ideally, it would be great to have funding because it always escalates how much impact you can have. But I was seeing like, what can I learn from my coaches? So with my coach, I learned a lot on business. This is someone who had a lot of extensive experience, and I already had all these goals, and it was easy for us to connect. And, I ended up having twice as many sessions with my coach because I came very prepared and very intentional with the different members in the community. I was focused more on the people where there's an alignment, and that works because you only have so much time and energy. And it's the same thing with the PDE. I was privileged to be connected to an organization that does similar work as Genius Education Zambia. And instead of focusing on all the different departments, I said, what are we doing wrong at Genius and how can I learn? So I was strategically placed in departments where I could grow my skill. And I think it's that type of positivity that helps, because sometimes, it's if you don't know your own values and what you're looking for, you just waste all that time and energy. So I think that's my take on when it comes to partnerships. And I've been able to connect with some really great minds here in the US, sharing of ideas, people who've opened me up to new ideas. It's not always about the finances. When it comes to mentorship, I'm a person who values mentorship. You rightfully said my father is my first mentor in life. Apart from that, I always look for mentors. When I was in medical school, I actively went and found a mentor, one of the deans at the university. He mentored me, and I was able to always make strategic decisions. As with mentorship, there are times where you have very difficult decisions that you have to make. You are placed with 2 options. How do you know if to take left or right? But with mentors, you have someone who has ideally been on a similar path, or who can at least, show you the possibilities beyond what you can see. And that's what my mentors have been doing for me. Currently, I still have mentors who've been active in my life for more than 2 years. I meet with them sometimes twice monthly, and I'm accountable. So it also gives you that accountability. And I think it's helped me have peace when I make make difficult decisions, because I know that I've run them through several people. So I agree with you, Elisa. Mentorship is something that we need even in Africa, and young people, we need mentorship, we need coaching, and it's a resource that I've utilized extensively in every place I go to. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I think if have a mentor can really, as you say, change your life. Mainly when you need to make a decision and you have like two choices to do, but you need to pick only one. And if you don't know the person, because have all the experience, can at least show you uh, a better path to follow. Then it is very helpful. And what is next? Like, what is next for Genius Education Zambia? Like, how far do you want, you and your team, do you want to go?
Okay. Yeah. So just quickly, I think what we see for the future of Genius Education Zambia, because we've been in the system for a long time, we've collected a lot of data. We also carry out research programs. Currently, we have a research that we are running in partnership with the University of Cambridge, as well as Zambia Research Development Center, the Youth Center for Research, which is an international research institution, where we are collecting this data for the Zambian education systems, how, in relation to the things that we stand for as an organization: creativity, innovation. So we see ourselves contributing a lot to better decisions for Africa. I'm also a science diplomat with the Geneva Science Diplomacy Anticipator. So I see that some of this information informs also politicians, right? When you talk about governments, why do they make some of the choices that they make? It's because of the information they have. So with grassroots organizations such as our own, we collect this data which government can use to make better educational policies. So we see ourselves becoming one of the leading organizations, a leader in terms of science, education, research, not only for Zambia, but also for Africa, because the idea with Genius has always been to impact the African continent. So we see ourselves contributing to better policy, with the African Union, the SADC conversations, all these different bilateral and multilateral conversations that can impact educational outcomes, because education directly relates to our economy and workforce, as well as industry. So if Africa is going to develop in terms of its economics, we have to have a certain education system in place. And we see Genius Education Zambia, becoming one of the key players in those conversations. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. I think I can see in 5 years now, you guys be in basically more African country than Zambia, and I think this will be very nice, mainly because of the way that you are create a new curriculum that can be the face for the continent. This is amazing. Bupe, I can like be here for all day, listen to you. Like I'm really learning, and I feel so happy to have you with me. We are kind of in the last minute for our episode, but be sure I will invite you to come here, and we need to talk more. Like you need to share more your thoughts, your work with a lot of young African, and I know that there is few African in their own country that they are trying to do the same as you, and this is nice because being here and they have the opportunity to listen to you, they can learn how to do it, and maybe they can reach to you to take some advice if they are went through a difficult time. Well, we are in the last minutes for our episode, and at the end of the episode, I like always to ask the guest, in this case you, to choose someone that you think this person can be a very good asset to the podcast, maybe because of their story, because of their work, and I want you to say the name of this person, the country that the person come from, and the why you want us to bring this person here. Go.
Thank you so much. Just like Miriam had said, this is not an easy decision. I think there are so many amazing people. But just at the top of my mind, I'm going to nominate Clinton Oduor. He's a change maker from Kenya. So Clinton currently sits on the Youth Advisory Board of the International Telecommunications Union, that is the ITU, and he's contributing to conversations around technology and how we can have better outcomes for Africa. So I think Clinton would really inspire young people, and he would also share with us from a larger perspective, a United Nations perspective, because the ITU is part of the United Nations. What are they actually doing for young African youth in terms of technology and inclusivity in ICTs? So I nominate Clinton from Kenya. Thank you.
Oh, nice, nice. I don't know Clinton, and I will be very happy to know him and to know more about the work that he's doing. Of course, Bupe, you will make us be in touch. And yeah, I will be bringing Clinton maybe in the next episode or the other one, but sure, we want him here, and we really want to listen to him and the all work that they are doing for young African. um, we have more few minutes. I want to ask Bupi, do you want to say more something? Maybe one advice for young African that they are listening to us?
Okay, thank you so much, Elisa. I just want to give back the message of hope. I know sometimes I might sound like a motivational speaker, but I know the challenges that we Africans go through. I myself have so many challenges, it's very difficult. I feel you wherever you are hearing this podcast from. I know how many times you've received a rejection when you're expecting a positive outcome. That's just the reality we are in right now in the world. But I want to tell you to just try again. Whoever is listening to this, just try again. It's difficult for everyone, it's difficult for myself, but this is the only world we have. We only have one continent. This is our Africa. And I want to encourage people, we all can't leave our motherland. Let's stay and make it a better place, and let's just keep pushing. So this is just an encouragement. I don't know, to whoever is listening, don't take it as one of those motivational speeches. Take it as someone who has walked through the journey and has cried as well. I've been on my knees crying. I've fallen several times, and sometimes there's no support, there's no mentorship. Even though I talk about mentorship here, it's not everyone that has access to it. Just try again, and you're not alone. Yeah, thank you.
I like this one. Just try again. I think today we will end up with these words. Thank you so much, Bupe, for accept the invitation. Thank you so much for share about yourself, about your story, about your work. I'm very glad and happy to have you here. And of course, I will be invite you for more and more episodes. For the people at home, thank you so much for listening to us, and see you in the next episode. Bye bye. Bye bye, Bupe.
Thank you.